Hey guys, so today the reading is going to be about the return of the prodigal son. So if you're not as familiar with that story or you need a refresher, that's what I'm going to be reading off today. And I'm going to try to get the scripture on the screen so anybody who wants to, they could read along as well. Because the King James Version, that old English is, and it's still a little tough to read out loud. However, before that, again, I want to make it a habit to mention what the gospel is or where it can be found in the Bible, and that is 1 Corinthians 15, 1 through 4. I need to make a habit to include that on every video. I'm trying to keep that in memory. But again, we're going to be reading about the return of the prodigal son, and that's found in Luke chapter 15, 11 through 32. So again, I'm going to put that up on the screen so you can read along with me if you want. Alright, so it says, starting at verse 11, and he said, a certain man had two sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the young son gathered all together, and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. Riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in the land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, and he said, How many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven, and before thee. I am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck, and kissed him. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe, and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet. And bring hither the fatted calf, and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found. And they began to be merry. Now his elder son was in the field, and as he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants, and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, Thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe and sound. And he was angry, and he would not go in. Therefore came his father out, and entreated him. And he answering said to his father, Lo, these many years do I serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment. And yet thou never gavest me a kid, that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this thy son was come, which hath devoured thy living with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. And he said unto him, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead, and is alive again, and was lost, and is found. So, sorry for the reading, man. King James Version. There are 3 points that I wanted to talk about with this. One, the younger son came to his senses eventually, meaning he first had a truth. He first had a certain way of living. He first had a certain standard about life. And somewhere along the way he lost that, and you can read in it and see how he was feeding pigs, he was feeding swine, he was working as a servant, he was living riotously, but he came to himself eventually. The second part was the father accepted him as soon as he seen him afar coming home. So meaning, his father was quite aware of him taking his inheritance early, him leaving, just deciding he was going to live his way however he wanted to live. Regardless of that, he did take him back. He did, he was glad. He gave him clothes, he gave him shoes, he gave him a ring, which signifies a whole lot, which is back in that time, like a family ring, a signet ring. It's basically saying, hey, you're part of the family. You're still welcome here. It goes pretty deeper than that, but I'll keep it at that for now. And then with the elder son, there was this misunderstanding, or you can call it hating or whatever, but kind of looking at the situation like, this son, he left, and now he's coming back after squandering everything he had, and he's getting a party, he's getting a feast made for him. But in reality, that is how a lot of people are, when they see people turn their life around. And it's kind of like, well, I've been quote unquote righteous all my life, why am I not getting this exclusive treatment? But if you're living that way in the first place, likely you're already living within abundance. I'll put it that way. Again, you can unpack that a whole lot as well, but even you see that in churches where a certain person may have fallen away, backsliding, whatever the case, they've gotten lost in the world, and then when they come back, you have a lot of people who might look at them like, what is this person doing here? Or, you've been living like this all your life, or, whatever the case. Instead of just looking at the fact that you've come back to yourself, we're going to accept you, and we're going to, pick up, in a sense, maybe not from where you left off, but just you're moving forward. From that point on, you're moving forward. You're not holding that past against them. You're not bringing it up and trying to, squander the progress that they're now trying to make, or they're currently trying to make. So that story has a whole lot of implications, and it has a whole lot of things that, I think anyone who studies it can just unpack it, and it's so applicable in today's real world. So I wanted to read that off and just encourage anybody who is at that point where you feel like you've fallen so far from where you were, but it's not too late. It's not too late for anyone to come back to their senses, to come back to their first love, to come back to God and say, these things I've transgressed, I've sinned, and now I'm asking for forgiveness, and I want to come back. And again, from that point, you're moving forward. You're not letting the past, the history, the bad decisions, the life prior to that ruin what's in store for you next. So that being said, I again want to continue doing these videos, and as God would allow, and continue to encourage anyone who needs that. Including myself. This helps me as well, just playing a part in the kingdom and doing some kingdom work, doing something for God, instead of doing nothing. Just being a believer and not spreading that, not doing that. I just feel like that's a waste. So that's heavily why I try to do this, and again, just want to encourage everyone. So that being said, that's all I have today. For now, actually, I'm not going to say today, because there was another topic that I wanted to discuss, but it was going to make this video way too long. So I will save that for another time. That being said, be blessed and be encouraged, and stay safe. All right.